Tigers. I'm from the county.
I'm from the county.
Ain't talking about jail.
Ain't talking about jail.
Money get counted.
Money get counted.
Like I'm paying the bill.
Like I'm paying the bill.
Straight out of Harris.
Straight out of Harris.
Straight out of Harris County. Ain't talking about Houston.
Ain't talking about Houston.
I'm in Georgia with dogs and tigers. I'm from the county.
I'm from the county.
Hey, welcome in the Kudzu Sports Show. Derek Moxley, Concrete Service, Whistling Pig, bringing us this week. Rick Beach alongside the sidekick. Everybody getting to know him. If you're watching Kudzu Sports, anything Harris County on Kudzu, we got the all-world intern, Ethan Pettie. Ethan, what's going on, bud? A long week, but it was been a fun one, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I had a ton of fun this week. Monday was, you know how fun that was, but covering that since then has been so much fun.
Yeah, it's incredible, but obviously it seems like the flag program has been on the cusp, and every year just running to and issuing that Elite Eight and getting over that Elite Eight hump, and that team was pretty much on fire this year. You calling it, you having your sister on, but you follow football and you know the rules, but you follow this flag football program since you've been at the high school, and just it's fun seeing you being around it. And you know what it means to, not just because your sister, but what it means to you just being so close to it. And, being there last Monday when it finally happened and winning the state championship and just that dominant run that we took on for the whole playoffs. It didn't even sink in until after that. Man, we was pretty chill the whole playoff. You had 4 out of 5 games were shutouts and stuff like that. But when you're in the moment, especially in the coaching world, when you're in the moment, you're only looking ahead. You're only looking ahead. And when you finally, we kept saying, 5 to go. Then it was 4 down, 1 down, 4 to go, 2 down, 3 to go. We counted it down. So we was literally just looking ahead. And I think it's having Coach Kinsey come in and the way he had us trained as coaches and players was film. We was heavy on film. Yeah. And I think you could really tell this season.
Absolutely. I think that's something a lot of other schools haven't caught up on in flag football is film, because, you would tell me how much film y'all been watching, especially leading up to the playoffs and in the playoffs and everything. And, but yeah, it was so much fun seeing them. And, it, like you mentioned, you're counting down, looking ahead, and it almost seems like in the playoffs that no lead is ever enough. But that domination, the state championship, I had a good feeling even there before halftime that y'all were going to get it done.
Yeah, even at halftime. Now, there's, when you're in that stadium, you feel, I've seen bad things happen in that stadium, being a Georgia fan, and you just kind of feel, there's going to happen. This would be the place it would seem to happen at. Yeah. And, the girls never had that thought. They were loose. They were locked in Sunday when we got up to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And it's like Monday morning when we were going, we were riding through downtown Atlanta. Yeah. And, we got the AD and you got the head coach, and you're trying to be, we're trying to lock in as the coaching staff, and the girls had the music blaring in the back. They're all singing along. The bus driver started hitting the lights on and off a little bit at the red light. So they were having fun, and it's like they just kept that loose attitude. They knew they were prepared as they could get, and they went out there and won it. But what was it like for you being in that crowd? I remember we had the picture of the crowd shot when Sam Harkins and Braxton Royce sent their photos in. They had an incredible picture from the field looking up to the bleachers or looking up into the stands of that Mercedes-Benz. What was it like being, in that atmosphere?
It was great because, I know Harris County usually travels well, at away games and everything, but I didn't expect it to be like that. There were a ton of people there. It was so much fun being a part of it. I was sitting more back, like behind everyone else. But seeing everyone else down there, it was really fun, and it was electric.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's the Final Four, Elite Eight, and Final Four games. We had good crowds at Danny Durham Field. Yeah. Flag football hadn't really brought the crowds that you would, and a lot of times I get it because it's cold at the flag football games. Yeah. You're running them the start of December, and it seems like the air coming off the mountain right on that football field. Beginning the baseball season. And flags usually the coldest times out there. Soccer, obviously, they get some cold games in February too. But man, just the feeling we had at halftime. Like I said, we're so locked in on the game, you don't hear it. But once you see the crowd, and all of a sudden you can hear the crowd.
Yeah.
And it's like we turned around and it was like, where'd all these people come from? And then we're hearing after the game, people sending texts about the school was half empty and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So that was pretty neat. When you look back at this flag football, you could tell right there that's the school away from us, Washington County's crowd
Hmm.
away from us, which is decent crowd because you got to also remember what stage we're on. We got this giant stadium, what 70,000 seat arena,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden you put in a flag football crowd. But Harris County turned out for that game, and it was definitely at halftime. Any hope that Washington County might have had that our girls were going to slack off a little bit, when they turned around and saw them people and started, doing their hands with the people and everybody
Yeah.
started cheering, there was no doubt we was about to win that state championship
Yeah.
at that point. And like them girls weren't going to quit because they knew they had that whole county. And having the cheer squad come out there,
Yeah.
that was neat. A good thing before the game, they had a little trouble getting into the dome, so we
Hmm.
was in the tunnel, and we had our girls in the tunnel, and we had to move over, and the cheerleaders walked by, and our girls went crazy, like they were cheering for the cheerleaders, like they're
Yeah.
so proud to see that. And and I'll say this for flag, not having that support or feeling like that support's with you for 2 3 years, 4 or 5 years, even to the start of the program back in right after COVID. And when you
Hmm.
see that support, the girls felt it. For the
Yeah.
first time, they felt like the whole county's behind us now, and
Hmm.
that's an incredible thing to see. And I think sometimes when you have that feeling, you could tell them girls play their hearts out with it.
Absolutely. I think it was the first time the cheer came was the region tournament, and
Yeah,
it was just seemed like a whole different environment, and it was really cool that they came out there to support them. And because obviously basketball cheers at all the basketball games, you have a cheer, and
yeah.
everything at the football game. So it was really cool to see flag get that same acknowledgement and support for a state championship run.
Yeah, and I think we found something, and shout out to Coach Kinsey and Coach Davis for lining that up, getting them to come out there. And
Hmm.
who knows, we might be able to get with Dr. Libby, maybe have the drum line come out to some games next year and just, you know, that full involvement, school getting behind one another. It's incredible and it's fun to see. But we can't talk about this season, the state championship, but you got to talk about that offense and just the incredible numbers the entire offense put up. And let's start with Cricket Collie. The season she had, the career she had. Remember her freshman year, she went to the
Oh yeah.
state championship, and she just put up incredible numbers. But this year, the stats went off the chart. But what can you say about Cricket? What you've seen from her this season?
I don't. I mean, she's just been phenomenal. I haven't seen another girl that can throw a football and you know get out of pressure. She stepped up a couple times into contact. That one long touchdown she threw to Pearson,
Yeah,
right up into contact and delivered a dime. But I mean, I haven't seen anyone that could do it as good as her. And I don't know if there is anyone else that can. But the stats, I think it was over 5,000 passing this year. Somewhere
yeah.
around that mark. And I mean, she's just incredible. She's been finding ways to, get the job done. Even with her legs too, she had over 1,000 rushing yards, and I think that says a lot too. I think she bailed, themselves out or y'all out a couple times on third and longs or fourth and longs where she was able to pick those yards up with her legs.
Yeah, and she had like two rushing touchdowns, including the first touchdown that kind of got the jitters out. When
Yeah.
we had a thing. I don't think people don't really pay attention when they're at the game who wins the coin toss and stuff. But we had a thing, and Coach Kinsey wanted the ball. We always would take the ball, and that way, I always told Coach Kinsey, "Hey, that way we never lose the coin toss because everybody defers, and if we take the ball, then we're always going to get it to start." And
Yeah.
at the state championship, one of the things that we talked about as a staff was he was wanting to defer, and it was like you'd rather get your nerves out on defense. If you're going to
Hmm.
be nervous, you'd rather your defense be on the field and get them nerves out. But we go on offense to start, and it was kind of a chunky little start. And then I think we had a fourth down they converted. And once she converted that, they went downfield, scored. Then that second drive was her touchdown pass to Pearson, which was
Hmm.
an incredible play on both sides. I mean, Pearson is staying in the route, and the ball just lands right there in the back of the end zone. And I think that was kind of the point. It was like, okay, this is something special happening. And really, it truly has been happening all season with them.
Yeah, it has been. And it's been so fun to watch. It's been a duo that I haven't seen many people do as good as them two. But like the stats, you mentioned earlier how good they were, and they're just playmakers, and it's so fun to watch. And I'm so glad they got a championship on their senior year. Them two and the other seniors as well. But
Yeah.
and even looking ahead, I'm excited to see what they do in the future. Even though with the seniors that are seniors now leaving, I'm really looking forward to next season as well, coming off a state championship.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see the system. Coach Kinsey's coming in, his system that he brought in, how that transitions. And one thing that he did put an emphasis on this season was developing younger talent.
Hmm.
Um, Pre-game and that practice when cricket would throw the route tree type stuff, there was a rotation of quarterbacks. So we had two freshman quarterbacks that were throwing. And one thing that does, it takes pressure off Cricket's arm. She's not
Yeah.
throwing all these passes to everybody on the team multiple times, and also it's helping these girls develop throwing and also catching. I think it's a lot of drops in flag football. It seems like, but our girls caught before every practice. They're catching at least every girl ran 6 routes, so that's 6 balls you're getting thrown to. Then you have practice, and you see Pearson right here. That's after that interception when Washington County came down and almost looked like they were going to score, and after the half, and Pearson makes an interception on the goal line and just steps on the out of bounds, or else she'd have housed it, man. She was going to take it to the house.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about cricket. Now I'm going to put you on the spot with your sister, Pearson
Mhm.
Pettit. We know freshman year she didn't play, and she just had this workaholic attitude. And I think her and cricket merged together because they're like minded in that matter. But you've been firsthand, you've seen it, since that sophomore year when she started working. What can you say on your sister's work ethic and how it's led to where she's at now?
Well, she totally deserves, all the, everything she got with whatever. Because I mean, she might be mad when I say this. You look a couple of years ago, her freshman year, or before that, she couldn't catch anything. And
Yeah,
but I mean, that says something about how bad she wanted it. She didn't play her freshman year because she thought she wasn't ready yet. And I think that was a really good decision for her. Because I mean, we went out to the field a couple times a week, and maybe even a couple times a day to just go catch balls and run routes and everything. And uh, it's been fun to work with her because especially she wanted it too. Like it's not like we
yeah,
were forcing her to go out. She was be the one asking us to go to the field and going with us when we did. And but yeah, that's something cricket would come with us all the time too. So that says something about them too. Their work ethic is incredible.
yeah. I used to always joke, but we're really looking back at it, every time you saw Pearson, she had her cleats on. You see her basketball game, she had cleats on, and
Hmm.
that's because she was working and wasn't the coaches with her. She was out there, her cricket, and give a shout out. There's that shot we were talking about in the crowd
Oh
at
yeah.
Mercedes Benz. Yeah, but it's not just Pearson. The cricket was out there. Cadence Jenkins was out there with him. Mason McGuire goes out there with him. Kendall Robinson does work on the side. She had a phenomenal season on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to talk about defense in a little bit, and it's not just the same too, but all these girls that you just put in so much work. And shout out to cricket, Kendall Robinson and Abby Zimmerman. They're all on that team that went their freshman year. And to make it back, not many people get to go to two state championship games, had two different stadiums and two different outcomes. But
Hmm.
it's just the work they put in. But I've never seen a team work as hard as that team did. I mean, we went this summer with no coach. We
Yeah.
had no head coach. We was in transition. Didn't know who was going. It was summer, so it's kind of in Harris County had a new AD, and then we had a flag football change, and it's like, he's not even been on the job a week, and he's already having to try to find a new head, and it's just an awkward time because that's when teachers go on vacation. So we had a period where me, Coach Colley, and an administrator would have to go to the conditioning with the kids, and
Hmm.
we had sometimes it'd be 4 or 5 girls, and sometimes it'd be 12, 13 girls showing up for them conditioning. But they've been going at it since then. And you see a picture right here. Let's go ahead. We'll switch to defense. See Kendall number one in the background's Kendall Robinson, and then Riley Hall, that right there on number 11, was a newcomer coming out of nowhere this year and really putting up some good numbers on defense. And then Addison Fowler, man, you can't say enough about Addison in that middle linebacker position on this defense and the way she plays that linebacker position. She's got the speed of a cornerback almost. She's got the high end speed. She's a track star. But she helps out in that middle so much. But Kendall, for years she's been offense and defense for this team, Ethan. And then this year you see her just play defense. Why don't you talk a little bit about what that meant having her just on defense?
I think it turned a lot of things around for her, especially because now she got to focus on just that one thing, is playing defense, and it obviously it worked out really well for her, and she had a ton of fun on doing it, I'm sure. But I think it does shift, her focus a little bit from both sides of the ball to just defense.
Yeah. It gave her an opportunity to be that leader. She's a
Hmm.
senior. Now she become the quarterback of the defense. Cricket was the other safety, but sometimes she needed to talk to Coach Kinsey. Sometimes she needed a break trying to go both ways. And, we always had that. And I'll say this, Kendall and Coach Colley have a relationship. I mean, that is a perfect what you want out of your defensive coordinator and your defensive leader. They communicated every time the defense came off the field. You see them two talking, and
Hmm.
Kendall would be a fantastic coach down the road. Just how they communicated and just the way he works with all the kids, but especially Kendall, and seeing the relationship. They've known each other for years, but just seeing how this year it finally culminated. Kendall knew she had to be a leader, and she stepped up big time this year. I believe she had 12 picks. But
Hmm.
man, she was, if a girl was getting the best of us in like a zone type defense, we just put Kendall on her. Say, okay, we're going, man. Kendall, you're on the threat, and that fix it. And you just don't get that every day. And the way she stepped up this year was just phenomenal. And it's fun, like you said, for the seniors. A Kendall Cricket gets all the accolades, and she should. Cricket
Yeah,
is the best athlete to ever walk the hallway. Right there, you see Kendall and Coach Colley talking. I mean, it was all the time. They were, you know, running that defense. She was the coordinator on the field pretty much. It was just phenomenal to see. But yeah, Cricket, hands down, best athlete, I think, to male or female at Harris County High School. Every sport she played in, she was phenomenal. But you got to have supporting roles. You got to have people playing. You got to have a Pearson Pettit to go to. You got to have, the Abby Zimmerman and Cadence Jenkins were phenomenal blocking. How about Aubrey Mertz at snapper? You know,
hmm,
we're talking about watching film you know, I behind the curtain a little bit. That was something Coach talked about going in that game. Was I think Mertz could really be the difference maker of this game, and she had I think 5 or 6 catches, 2 touchdowns, including that long run when the flag didn't come off. But you can't just have. Joe Burrow was great at LSU, but he still had Justin Jefferson and Moss and, you know, Eli Claire. He had all these guys as well. And that's kind of how I felt with Cricket. She was great. She was phenomenal, but she had to have supporting cast, and the supporting cast this year was just hands down phenomenal.
absolutely. It seemed like the whole team together this year was just different than the past, couple other years. Like everyone was so much closer to each other. Like you said, Kendall and Coach Colley, how close they
Yeah.
are, and it just it makes the games more fun, and it makes them I won't say easier, but you know, a lot better to run your plays and your defenses and just play your games with the people that you're really close to. And I
Yeah.
love to see that bond between everyone this year, between that team. And I think that's really one of the biggest reasons they won a state championship.
Yeah. I mean, look right there, the smiles on that. And, we had a lot of road games this year. The schedule, was a lot of all of our non region type games. Seemed like we had to go on the road. We logged a lot of miles on that. They call it the cheese wagon. We logged a lot of miles, but I think that kind of grew you closer together as a team, and you kind of form a bond during them times of, we could all laugh and joke about. We was on a bus one time that froze us out. Then we was on a bus that didn't have no air. So it's like we just had all these different times that we were, can look back at, but it did help us bond because we did feel it was, you form that us against the world, that mentality of, doing what it takes to win. We had the long winning streak. We had the hiccup with Heard County, but I think that was perfect. It seemed like the loss to Heard County, as bad as it was at the time, and that was a sucky ride from Franklin back to Hamilton. But it's like we almost needed that. It kind of humbled you a little bit. It kind of not even humble. These girls are humbled beyond anything. I think nothing else is just put their nose to the grindstone, get back to work, and know, hey, we can be beat. And went on an unbelievable run. When we won region, the next night, I don't even think people knew. The next night, we went up to Blessed Trinity and played two phenomenal teams. Both of them played in the state championship. Blessed Trinity won their division. McEachern lost by 1 point in Division 5. and we were leading McEachern 13-12. They scored, I think, inside the last minute of the game, and they won.
Mhm.
And then we beat Blush Trinity, and then it was like, okay, we got a week off, but these girls are good. They beat Heard County. We got our get back in that game. Then we go on the road, competitive in these two games right here, winning one of them. It's like I think we're better than we might have ever thought we were. And I mean, I remember you saying after that Blush Trinity, you could even tell.
Yeah, and I think they had playoff games in the middle of the season that obviously weren't playoff games, but they felt like
Yeah,
it because it was just different this year. That region tournament was I think that was just something that clicked in you guys and everything after they won that against Herd. That was huge, and that felt like a playoff atmosphere there. It was a really good game, and especially after a team you'd already lost to, right? You don't want to be beat by the same team twice, and that
yeah,
gives you that sense of, okay, now we know we can beat these guys, and that test before the playoffs with McEachern and Blessed Trinity, I think that was huge, right? And those are two really good teams. You mentioned they both went to the state championship, and those two games they felt like playoff games, but they weren't, right? You were able to go back into
yeah.
the playoffs, and the loss at the end of the season, which y'all played really good in, and you were able to go in the playoffs with a lot of momentum, really.
Yeah, and we got up to Atlanta. We had three teams that played in Atlanta that we played during the season, and one of them beat us in overtime.
Hmm.
One of them beat us by we beat one, and then the other one beat us to the touchdown about a minute to go. So we felt like we're pretty good. We deserve to be on this stage, and I think at some point you just got to say we're not the underdog. We're expected to win. Let's go prove that we belong, and let's go get that. And the girls were 100%. Let's go win it. It didn't matter who they had to play. They could have rolled the Falcons out there for a 7-on-7, and they were ready to go. And it was just an incredible feeling. Being a part of it, is special, being around the girls and seeing it, but just what it means to the county, the outreach. Just I had like 100 something text messages when that game was over Monday. I got my book bag, because I want to take pictures at the stage. Coach Kinsey and the seniors get on the stage. I want to try to take some pictures. I had 109 text messages, I believe, and it was just people from the county, coaches, everybody sending stuff, and it was just an incredible feeling. Like we went through it with softball last year, and it was so similar. Softball had, Coach Jenkins' first year, but it was just a feeling. It was, the Elite Eight was like, these girls are meant to win this thing. There's
Yeah.
just nothing stopping them, and there wasn't. I mean, they went steamrolled through Columbus. It seemed like they had some close games, but they had like a 2 out of 3 in softball. They went to Cambridge in the Sweet 16, and they lost the second game, and that was like their Heard County, and then they just steamrolled the rest of the way. And I kind of felt that's all our girls had. Coach Jenkins has been super supportive. He came to the game um, Monday night. So I mean, it's just so fun to see the county come together, and be happy, be proud to be Harris County. And we got 2 state championships the last couple of years, different sports, and that's not counting. Effie Ward won state back to back years, and then Hannah Huff won state last year. Um, in track and field. So, we got multiple championship winners. Madeline Carey on the flag football team. She was also on softball last year. So she's, I want to say, the first team sport athlete to win 2 state championships at Harris County. And that's phenomenal to see. And I think we can finally get that going into other sports.
Yeah, I think so too. And I look ahead to baseball, how good, they're going to be this year and even in the future. They have so much young talent. I think
Yeah.
that might be that next sport that's going to be really close, if not getting there to a state championship.
Yeah, hey, we're 50 days away, so we can talk a little baseball. Coach Dimitri's everybody knows that young group, that new young talent's coming up, but it's so spread out. It's not just the freshmen and sophomores. They got really good seniors. Jacob Eber's a good, but Dejon Elder's phenomenal athlete, shortstop and pitcher. Having him as the senior, he's played since his sophomore year. He's played varsity every game, and that's so much experience and leadership you got to have when you do have some younger guys. Their junior class is really good. That's where you see, the Jackson Starlings coming in. And, of course, the sophomores last year, Caden Dimitri had a great freshman year. Will Dimitri had a big freshman year. You still look, even the juniors, you got Luke McEldoon.
Mhm.
Dude's a beast in the weight room playing second base. Always been fast, but putting a little more power on him. But they got so much talent, and some of the big arms they have. Jackson Starling's a big arm. Caden Dimitri's getting up in the upper 80s, low 90s. Then you got JT Perkle in there, and he just every game you saw last year, he's just throwing strikes, and it's phenomenal to see. You got so much big arms, and then they can throw in a JT and what he brings to the staff.
Yeah, JT was one of the my favorite players watching. I know I might be a little biased because I'm good friends with him, but he was really fun to watch. And every time he came in, it was electric. Striking out the side just
Yeah,
about every time he came in, and big moments. Runners on base that he had to come in and trying to get Harris County out of those situations, and he did just about every time. I think there was one game I don't remember exactly who it was against. I mean, he got hit pretty good, but I mean there was other games where I mean it seemed like that was the only time that that
yeah.
other hitters were seeing him really well. But overall, I mean, he was fantastic to watch. He was really fun and exciting, especially for me too, because I was on the call for a lot of the games last year, and then he would come in and it'd just be electric.
Yeah, he's really fun to watch, and it just mixes up good. Last year, they had Elder, Caden Dimitri, then JT thrown in there, and it's just it made it fun to watch. And then this year, we got a few freshmen that are they're going to come in and make a mark with this varsity team. You have to feel like Jacob Gilstrat, Luke Gowdy, and Fuller Carver. We've heard about them names, guys, since they're like 11U. You've had like, hey, when they get to this high school, they're going to be pretty stout, and they've just gotten better and better. Luke Gowdy and Fuller Carver nationally ranked on the perfect game and PBR stats. It's pretty incredible. Coach Dimitri sent a list. We're gonna have a graphic posted up this week on some of these kids that are ranked. And I think there's 7 kids that are ranked statewide in PBR and the PG rank, and that's incredible. That's pretty crazy to have. And like I said, they're spread out. 27, 28, 29 class of 27 kids on down. Then you got Elder in this senior class to give that concrete foundation to build on. I'm like you. I'm really looking forward to baseball season and seeing what Coach Dimitri does. That team can do this year. Last year in this 4A region that we've kind of got familiar with. Last year we're going to be with Northside. Remember, they're going up to 6A. We go
Mhm.
to 5A. They're going to go to 6A. They won't be a region opponent next season, so we kind of lose that. So this will be the last year to kind of fill that rivalry a little bit. But we're still going to have Stars Mill, still going to have Central Carroll, and some of them other teams coming in the region in the future. But this year, man, we know Central Carroll, Stars Mill, and Northside's always got good baseball teams. You throw us in there, it's just a gauntlet of region play.
Absolutely, it's going to be so much fun this year. And like you mentioned, this will be last year with Northside and everything, and so I hope that'll actually bring a lot more excitement this year. With that, and I hope a
Yeah.
lot of people show up to those games and to get really good crowds last year for baseball, and that was really consistent, traveled pretty well too. So I'm really looking forward to. So you said 50 days from today, so yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, another sport that I feel is going to have a good year and tie a little bit with flag coach Kenzie's also the girls soccer coach. A lot of the girls from the soccer team are on flag football. It transitions well. We have a handful of Jane and Caitlin Riley, the twins, came in this year, their senior year, to flag football. But I think winning in flag football can only help the soccer team as far as they know where it can get. They know it the hard work. They know to dig a little deeper, hopefully. And, they've had some good teams the last couple of years. Ramsey Jolly's one of them. Great defender on the back end on that side. They got some, good talent on that team. It's just going to be fun to see the soccer team this fall. Kudzu, we'll be doing some soccer games along with baseball. And, somehow I got to incorporate how we could. Obviously, me and you can't do play by play for tennis with KB Coach Bradley, but we got to find a way to get to a tennis match and a track and field event and broadcast or bring it to people. I know we were talking with Miss Snyder. I've been talking with Miss Snyder on getting some more intern type things. And one of the things we want to do is have somebody cover these sports, that we can't be at. We can't be at a baseball game and a track and field. And sometimes they're all at the same time at the school. We've been at baseball and they've had soccer games going on at the same time. So we're going to try to find a way to how to, if I got to go over there to the soccer field, you do the baseball game and we'll just throw it back and forth or something. But I think there's a way that we could do this. And, we got to, I feel the responsibility, me and you, or, You my little sidekick on this, Ethan. On we got to get the county people these sports, and it's not just football, flag football, the sports that we like, and the sports that are the most popular. It's all the sports because they're all equally as important to the school, and you got to have them. And tennis has been good the last few years. Like I said, girls soccer's been really good the last few years, and I feel we got to step up a little bit to get it out there. We did some soccer games last year, which was
Mhm.
really fun to do. And man, some of the things I remember you wanted a goal. That's one of my favorite highlights. You wanted to call a goal in soccer so bad. You finally get one, but the ball goes out the back of the net. So we don't know if it went in or not. So you didn't even get to call it when you finally got one.
Yeah, I think I did three or four, something around there.
Yeah.
Soccer didn't get like a single goal, and that was as close as I got, and it didn't even bring the excitement because I didn't know if it was a goal or not, and I don't know too much about soccer to whether or not to tell if it went in or not. But yeah, I'm excited though to do some more.
But we're going to lean on Tyler Dykes this year. He's the producer for non football. Brandon Schwabel, incredible job with Kudzu Sports and what he did as executive producer. And he's, built some stuff for these other sports. But Tyler Dykes is really good with soccer. And I told him, bro, he didn't tell us till after the season last year that he likes soccer and he knows all these rules. I'm like, dude, I'm dying in here on broadcast. We had a game that I had the score wrong because I didn't know they called an offsides on the goal. Also didn't help last year. Look, shout out to the new video board at the football field. It looks great.
Hmm.
Last year we didn't have no scoreboard there in soccer. So when I didn't know they called offsides on that goal and they wiped it out, I thought the score was something totally different. It affected the whole thing in my mind because I'm thinking it's a blowout and it really wasn't. But having Tyler Dykes who could say something, and now I told him, hey, we're gonna give him a headset. You got to help a brother out sometimes, and
Yeah.
let us know. Me and you were struggling a little bit. You're gonna be up there in them soccer games this year, but you have Dykes to lean on a little bit. Hey, don't be scared to give him the mic and let him run with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll probably happen in most cases because there'll probably be some situations that I don't know what's going on, and I'd love to learn and everything, but not on live when I'm on the mic.
Yeah, it's hard to learn on the fly like that. We tried swing and a miss on that. Don't forget at 9 o'clock, Georgia Alabama Sports Live show with Thrift Behringer and Richard Holdridge will be live at 9 o'clock tonight. Before we get out of here, we talk the county sports, talk flag football state championship, talk baseball, girls soccer team, Coach Renner and the boys soccer team too. Right now, basketball had a ton of road games. We didn't even get no basketball games in December. But
Mhm.
January, that's about to change for me and you as we're going to be up there broadcasting. We also got Queen of the County on MLK Day, Martin Luther King Day. No school, but hey, we'll be up there for Queen of the County, bringing that. So we got these sports we're talking for Harris County, but let's change gears a little bit and outside of the county type stuff. This weekend we had the 4 playoff games, college football. What was your takeaway from what you saw this weekend?
Very similar to last year. I think the first round was very underwhelming because there just isn't very many good games. I still not a huge fan of the system. I don't think JMU and
Yeah,
Tulane should be in the playoffs, in my opinion. And I get, you want the conference champions to get in and everything, but with a group of five schools, I don't know. It just feels like they had good seasons, right? But they're not going to go in there and win a national championship and whatnot. And
right.
but I mean, there wasn't any good games. I think last. I mean, the only one would have been Friday night with Alabama and Oklahoma that I fell asleep and couldn't finish. but
But you
um,
almost hit the score. You almost hit the score on that game.
I don't remember. I think I said 34-21 or something like that. It might have been.
Yeah,
But
because it was 17. Well, when it was 17-0, Bama started coming back. You said Bama's going to win 34-17. I think
mhm.
it was
Oh
thirty-four
yeah,
24 was the final.
yeah,
But you fell asleep on it, so you didn't even care on the conversation. You was like, enough of this. And I fell asleep last night at the JMU game.
yeah,
At like halftime. I said, I'm just going to go to knock out because this is not worth watching. And they got to find something. I mean, that was awful. I think SMU when they played last year, they really didn't need to be in there.
yeah.
Some of these schools, look, just because you got the Power Five or the Power Four backing, and I say TCU. well, they had the Big 12 banner they could hang over them, but they didn't look like a Big 12 team. And I know they beat Michigan, but they just you could get lucky once.
Hmm.
Appalachian State beat Michigan in '07. Boise State when they beat Oklahoma in the BCS, what was that like '05 or something?
I think so.
If they'd have played USC or Texas the next year, they'd have got slaughtered.
Yeah.
Or the next week. It's like you could get lucky. We could sneak up on somebody once, but you ain't gonna be able to sneak up on these guys, multiple times. You expect them to do it 3 times in the playoffs, and
Yeah.
that's just not ever. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. You're never gonna see a little group of team come
Yeah.
through and upset somebody 3 weeks in a row, 4 weeks, and that's just asinine to even think. But I understand they're talking today of something with lawsuits and all that crap. So the playoffs are boring so far. I kind of think they still could suck in the next round. Just being honest, some of them games could turn into snoozers. Georgia Ole Miss could be good again, but if it goes on like the last game ended, and look, we've seen Kirby Smart in rematches. Last year he had Texas twice, Alabama this year, obviously Auburn in 17. That coaching staff's pretty locked in on rematches. That could turn into a blowout. You got Ohio State, Miami. I think that could turn into a blowout.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think. I think about Texas Tech because they just play Big 12 teams all year, and I really don't have much respect for the Big 12. So
Yeah.
don't know what to expect there. Then Indiana, Alabama. I think Bama's going to win that game.
Yeah. I think so too, honestly. I know Indiana beat Ohio State and all, but I look at Ohio State and I'm still not really impressed with them. And
Yeah,
I know they finished 12-1 or whatever, um, but I just don't think. I know Fernando Mendoza is awesome and everything, and I just don't think Indiana or Ohio State are what people are making them out to be. I
yeah,
think an SEC team will end up winning this championship. I think it'll either be Georgia or Bama, and I just I don't know. But like you said, I think a lot of the second round probably going to turn into snooze fest too, with either probably Texas Tech going to get blown out, and Texas Tech, like you said, didn't impress me either. And they beat BYU a couple times, but BYU wasn't great. I didn't think so,
yeah,
but yeah, I think that the next round will uh probably be about the same. Maybe not the same, but not as good
yeah.
game still as we would want.
Yeah, and that's and I think this new system just takes too long. This new playoff system, now we're going to January 19th. And they just got to fix something. I think you can move the season back so we go through this crap earlier. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to find a way so we're not playing football. Up into the Super Bowl, we're not playing college football, and try to get it over with. They also need to get rid of the first round bye teams don't even get a home game,
Yeah,
so they miss out on all this revenue coming into their city. This 2 years in a row for Georgia going right to the Sugar Bowl. That's good, but think about it. That's twice that Athens could have made a ton of money coming in there, just like this year Oxford and Norman, Oklahoma, got to make a whole bunch of money hosting these playoff games. But the atmosphere Friday night, Norman, Oklahoma, man, that was a crazy atmosphere. It'd be fun to see, some of these other schools getting that opportunity. And, I'm not opposed to just doing it like NFL. Hey, we're at home until the national championship. The higher ranked team is the home team, and we're rolling that way.
yeah, I agree with that too. And I know, I think maybe up until the semifinals. I think the first two rounds should be,
Yeah,
whoever's the better seed should be at home. And I think because I think it's cool to, have some bowl games as playoff games. And I think
yeah,
that up until the semifinals, each year rotated. Peach Bowl and Rose Bowl be semifinal games, and Cotton Bowl and Orange Bowl will be the next year. But like, yeah, I think the first round buys, those teams not getting a home game, I think that's a little messed up because these other teams that they're almost getting. I know they're not um, getting a buy, but they're getting awarded basically for not getting a first round buy.
right. And it's just, it just seems like part of your buy. It would really be ideal to do first round bowl game, second round home, and then maybe your something like that. I just feel the reward, not just to the team, but the community that, the campus and all that, having a home game would be really cool. And, maybe I'm just a bitter Georgia fan that just wishes we could have one of those cool playoff games at home. But sometimes it's pretty cool not sucking. That's another thing I was talking about with Ole Miss is 5 hours away from New Orleans, and they haven't been to a Sugar Bowl in God know a game this large ever. And for Georgia fans, what's the incentive? Because if you win, you got to go to Phoenix, and if you win that, you got to go to Miami. So I mean, look, unless you're already a big time donor, it's hard to have that kind of money in your back pocket to pay for New Orleans, then a week later pay for Phoenix, then a week later pay for Miami. And it's something that Clemson fans and Alabama fans used to go through. Is you know it kind of loses its edge on how cool it is. And you kind of see some of these stadiums that you would normally be a 70-30 type Georgia crowd die down. And I think this might be closer to 50-50 than any game they've been in a while.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that you made a good point with the not being able to travel, having to go all the way to Phoenix. I think it takes a lot of the fun out of college football because I think that's one of the biggest things that separates college from NFL. I still think NFL is better, but I think obviously the
Yeah.
environments and everything, it just doesn't compare, to college football, and that's a huge, you're taking that away in the playoffs, and you have to go to Phoenix when you play in Georgia or New
Yeah.
Orleans or whatever. But yeah, I think that's I don't know, it's a big takeaway in the college football playoffs.
Yeah. And real quick, we'll touch. I know Richard's probably having a stroke right now because we told him we try to get off by 8, and he's got a show to do at 9 o'clock with Thrift. Like I said, 9 o'clock Georgia Alabama Sports Live show is going to be on. But real quick before we get off air, Richard, I promise this will be one of the last things. You mentioned NFL, and what's been going on with your Cowboys since Thanksgiving?
I don't even know. It's looking like the start of the year, the first couple weeks, they were giving up 40 points every week, and they were scoring just about 40 points. But the biggest
Yeah,
difference since the Eagles and Chiefs game, those two consecutive wins in those 2 weeks have been they're still giving up 40 points, but they're just not putting up 40 points. So, it's I think Matt Eberflus, defensive coordinator, I don't know how he's lasted this long. I think he definitely needs to go. And something in me is kind of happy that they gave up 34 points today because maybe that'll push Jerry to, you know,
make a
get rid of
change.
Eberflus. Yeah, because I still don't know if it'll happen because it's just how my luck is. They probably won't get rid of him. They'll probably try and ride it out another year, but we'll see. I mean, that 21-0 comeback against the Eagles was, one of my favorite Cowboys games I've watched, and then turn around and beat the Chiefs 4 days later on Thanksgiving. That was probably topped it, and ever since
Yeah.
it's just been downhill. So, rather be sad that they're out of the playoffs now than lose in the playoffs. So, that's just how I
Yeah,
look at it.
and to an extent, I mean, yeah, I'm a Browns fan. I kind of look back and it'd be cool to make it, again. It seems like the once every so many years is getting longer and longer. And I don't see the Browns making it no time soon. It seems like the Cowboys preseason every year, and they do have a good team. You got Dak, adding George Pickens with CeeDee Lamb is incredible at offense. George Pickens, another touchdown, at least one today. So he
Mhm.
had a nice touchdown catch. It seems like every week he's putting up highlight reels, but it don't matter when you're giving up 34, 41, 45 every week. He ain't scoring that many points. So I understand your frustration, but you're gonna see them boys win. When I was a kid, they were winning all over the place in the '90s. So be fun to see. But Ethan, I appreciate you coming on.
Mhm.
We're gonna try to make this a weekly thing, virtual. Even try to hit up the studio over at Georgia Alabama Sports Live, because part of the Kudzu Sports and Georgia Alabama Sports Live, me and Thrift, we always had this show, and we wanted our shows to go back to back. And we kind of got away from that a little bit this year with just how busy things were. And my deal, just like I told Coach Watson with the social media, if I'll do it, but I need to have my sidekick with me. It seems like if hey, I'll do the show, but what do you think about Ethan? He said 100%, especially how good you're doing on play by play. We want to get you on these shows, and also we'll kind of tease a little bit on next time. We kind of want to have the intern show at the end of these Kudzu Sports shows. So hopefully get your buddy Riley on here with us. Not with us. I'm gonna back out. Then you'll finish the show with Riley. Give you try your hand at leading. Let you lead, be the show
Mhm.
host a little bit, and y'all can talk sports. Y'all can talk high school sports, college sports, pro sports. I don't care. Talk about the Braves spending $20 million for 1 year on shortstop that probably won't hit 20 home runs. You can talk about that if you want to, but that's all we got on Kudzu. Like I said, hey, state champs finally get to show it off a little bit. It's been a fun 6 days. I'm sure we'll have something on Kudzu tomorrow celebrating the 1 week anniversary for the state championship. But Ethan, appreciate you coming on. Richard Holdridge, appreciate you on the producing aspect. But I'm Rick Beach. We'll see you next week on Kudzu Sports. Go Tigers.